Let me join everyone before me in welcoming you to this investor seminar, where we hope to showcase the investment opportunities arising from Nigeria's economic reform and privatization activities. I think that many who have observed the Nigerian government would agree that an article of faith for this government is the importance of mobilizing private capital and participation for improving efficiencies and driving economic growth. And this clearly explains why we have this collaboration today between the Bureau of Public Enterprises, which, as you know, is in charge of our sectoral reform programs, with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission and the Nigerian Exchange Group to host this seminar as an important platform for drawing attention to investment opportunities for both our local and foreign friends and collaborators. One thing this webinar will draw attention to is the fact that past sectoral reforms in Nigeria have brought about increased opportunities and extensive economic and social gains. For example, our pension reform, which replaced the old defined benefit scheme with a contributory pension scheme, led to the creation of the Pension Commission, PENCOM, which now has over 12.3 trillion naira in pension fund assets under management. Similarly, the reform of our telecommunications sector increased the number of telephone lines in the country from about 450,000 in 2001 to currently well over 140 million active telephone lines and 97.9% teledensity. Equally notable is our port sector reform, which led to the concession of various terminals, bringing about major investments and transformation of the various port terminals, including in terms revenue, employment, and operational efficiency. Then, of course, we're all very familiar, I'm sure, with the power sector reform, which resulted in the unbundling of our old Power Holding Company of Nigeria, the PHCN, and the privatization of its successor companies. Now, this has not yielded all of the very excellent results we expected. But I must say that the federal government is working with key stakeholders in the sector to address some of the various challenges impeding its growth. But I think that our experience with the private sector, with the power sector, underscores the importance of using the right models in attracting investment, especially in the provision of infrastructure. And what we've seen is that while you are privatizing utilities of the size of our former PHCN, we simply have to be far more intentional in looking out for the right models and the right type of investors, and also looking at funding for these investors over an extended period of time. And these are some of the challenges that we've seen, but I think that it's an excellent lesson, and there's so much that we're learning, and clearly this will impact the way that we approach privatization, especially of government utilities going forward. Undoubtedly, a major challenge of the Nigerian economy is its limited infrastructural stock. And this is something we've spoken about time and time again. Is estimated to be about 35% of GDP. That's our infrastructure stock, as compared to 70% of GDP in peer countries. So it's clear that there is a shortfall there. And given the limited resources of government alone cannot provide the financial outlays needed to meet the very huge infrastructural deficit there is and the needs of the economy. So it's imperative that we revert to the use of the active use of public-private partnerships to promote infrastructural development. And this approach itself requires clear and consistent guidelines for public-private partnership arrangements and investor opportunities. This is why, after several years of relative ambiguity, I think now we're at a point where the government has introduced, by way of a policy circular, rules that clearly stipulate the respective roles and responsibilities of the Bureau of Public Enterprises and the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, the ICLC, with regard to PPP arrangements. I'm sure that there are several who had complained about the lack of clarity between the roles in the roles of these two agencies. But the policy is now that the BPE, that's the Bureau of Public Enterprises, will be responsible for the concession of public enterprises and infrastructure that are already listed in the first and second schedules of the Public Enterprises Act. It will also act, that is the BPE, on behalf of the federal government as the counterparty on all infrastructure projects being developed on a PPP basis, whilst the ICRC will be the regulatory agency for PPP transactions, with powers to inspect, to supervise, and monitor the projects and processes in order to ensure compliance with relevant laws, policies, and regulations. So I think the clarity brought about by this new framework will give comfort to interested private partners and incentivize their participation in the exciting new opportunities that abound in Nigeria. An effective demonstration of the PPP model is the success of our tax credit initiative, especially for road construction. Today, several road projects that may have presented funding difficulties for the government have been done under a scheme that allows private entities, especially private entities that are corporate organizations in Nigeria, to build while government forbears on taxes they would have paid to the extent of their financial outlays on the infrastructure. So what this means is that if a private entity is prepared to build or to participate in the building of government infrastructure, such a private entity will get a tax rebate, tax credit for the amount of money spent. Of course, this would have to go through the normal approvals and all that. And this has proved to be very successful. For example, today the NLNG, the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Project, is building the Bodo Bonny Bridge, road and bridge. And this is a huge project, almost 200 billion naira. And it's building it on that tax credit basis. Also, Dangote built the Obajana Kaba road in Kogi State on that basis, and is currently doing the Apapa Oworonshoki road in Lagos, also on this tax credit basis. Furthermore, the federal government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria and the NSIAA and the African Finance Corporation, among others, are collaborating to establish a 15 trillion infrastructure fund under the auspices of an Infraco. And I'm sure that from the CBN governor's speech a moment ago, we heard a bit about the workings of the Infraco. But this for us is a very exciting possibility. And there are so many, and we think that this opens several doors for infrastructure investment in Nigeria. We believe that given the credibility of the actors, that is CBN, NSIA, AFC, and the quantum of resources that will be deployed, the Infraco would make a major contribution to meeting the infrastructural needs of the Nigerian economy while promoting public-private partnerships. So as I close, let me reassure you that the federal government of Nigeria is strongly committed to this approach to national economic development, and will consider it an important duty to create the enabling environment for the required and much needed investment inflows. So we invite all investors from within Nigeria, as well as our foreign partners, financial institutions, and the international investment community to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the Nigerian economy. So it's now my very special pleasure and privilege to declare this investors seminar open. Thank you very much.